30 minutes on topic. 30 minutes, 30 minutes on topic. You're rolling. Okay, I was a single parent. I knew from years of experience and stalking and watching and seeing how this county operated that how the social services and shit kept harassing all these mothers and shit that I used to hang out with and do babysitting for and all this living with and all this shit for my whole years in this college town of clinical professional bullies and narcs and all this stuff that springs from the judiciary to the school system to social services. These three mechanisms come together in most instances and procure and abduct children against their will. They'll harass the children until they get the narrative. But anyhow, so at first I had a couple years, I was a single parent without real good avenues for daycare or anything. And went all over the place trying to figure that out. And I had a couple years, I had some stuff, I sold it off, and I stayed at home with that kid and I rested. And I kept noticing I'm not really spending any money, but I'm getting this bill all the time. And it's a tax bill for $1.60 a day on my home, not counting what's on my cars or my bike, whatever it happens to be. And so I was thinking of a new tax system, and then I was thinking, well, we got social media, and I got a lifetime of grievances since they used eminent domain to take my home, so people down the road could benefit over my best interest. And it turns out when they built that land bridge, it takes 20 seconds to drive across in a car at 60 miles an hour, however wide that is. They changed the jet stream and destroyed the ecosystem to facilitate the clinical professional Appalachian State University, where the clinical professional discretion of the judges will neglect people if they get hurt in a car accident, will allow narcs to plea bargain and go back out slinging their drugs and assaulting residences in the community and pushing the shit to the college kids and the high school kids. And when they get together with other narcs, they'll assault you, and then the judiciary won't even pull the witnesses forward to really get the true testimony of the events. I'm not worth it. The only question in court was their permanent damage when a flea shithead hit me. No. Other than a pre-existing wound that shifted. I can't, I mean, whatever. I ain't going to give him no credit for nothing. Wait till as long as he stays away from me, doesn't approach me, we're fine. But he's not going to get a second hit. And I ain't got our official record. And right now I'm running background checks with another entity of hopefully, because if you're going to condemn me, okay. So anyhow, there's no resources for single parents. Then we get to the school, a daycare, and the daycare system has a woman there that has already abducted a foster care child and is getting $3,000 a month to facilitate that, from what I understand. That kid gets some kind of Social Security or SSI or some kind of government grant incentive to that child has been procured into the foster care system. None of social services or clinical professional bullies will procure any funding for a child that they deem parents' home is not up to adequate code and they abduct a child. They will normally try to abduct children while they're infants or in diapers or whatever. They like to generally give it a year if you're lucky. So with all this government grant stuff looming, anyhow, he was in this daycare and they assaulted him, called social services on me, said I was choking him. Yeah, when we're doing our wrestling techniques and stuff in our training, I would get him in a headlock. But really choking him, there's no wounds on the child. The child is the healthiest thing in the whole community, and you're going to say he's being neglected. I know what a deficit is, but not because of neglect, but because of a physical disorder when I was young. I imagine some kind of ailment that the clinical professional bullies at the at the hospital couldn't figure out how to remove a solid bowel mass with a water pick and a drain line. No comprehension, no ability of that. They just pump it all full and just let the valve mechanism move and let the water back in. Just excruciating pain that you guys probably would not know. So anyhow, with that said and done, that daycare tried to abduct my child. They called social services after they slammed his head with a door one day. I picked him up and he had a red spot. I didn't think nothing of it. I thought he might have been rubbing around on the ground. Who knows? It's a red spot. So then social services called me next morning and they want to do a wellness check. Well, I just happened to have on Friday taken him to my Thursday night, taking him to my sister so I could have a 3-day weekend. So I take this guy out and we check out the kid. He looks at his neck, of course. Looks at the kid, of course. Kid's fine. Kid's happiest. Kid is the most healthiest entity in his community once again. And I say, wait, hold on a minute. Everything's good, right, huh? Okay, I'm not going to drop names. It's not worth it. I said, what's that bruise on the side of my son's face? And I tended to get to the bottom of that bruise on the side of my son's face. It was light, but only a parent would see it. I am so pissed off. The woman who already abducted, I got photographs of it, had already abducted a little foster care child, went and, I got to go to work, went and hit my son with the door. And I call every entity on that damn human trafficking entity right there because it is a human trafficking entity and I have to go. But then I got involved with the school and then the school didn't have a pre-K place. And I said, well, what, administrators take all your money? And then all of a sudden, they're investigating me for communicating threats. I wasn't even out of the bed. I didn't even have a cell phone connected because I was desperate. I was clawing, trying to get this kid into a stable situation, a safe situation, so I could go to work. And the school system proceeded to start investigating me and harassing me for 8 months. And everybody I know in this community, I'm from this community and I know a lot of people. But I haven't talked to a lot of people since social media. Okay, now we're going to leave in 3 minutes. So then, I got time. What am I saying? Then they investigated me for 9 felony counts. I mean, they went everywhere and investigate. I don't think but 1 or 2 strange girls have been to my home that didn't know my backstory since it's begun. So no locals are coming anywhere near me, even in the shadows. These clinical professional bullies invest because the one I said that had too much salaries against the children's needs for anyhow. It's a bunch of garbage. They got little workstations. They don't have lines as pupils looking at the board, working together to compete for knowledge. It's not they beat the competition factor out of it, but it's not a competition. It's incentive. We're not going to motivate each other. I mean, we're not going to motivate these kids 100%. We might be able to make it fun and cool, but you're not going to spark their interest like you could. Apparently, you're not going to use any of the social networking platforms or devices. I haven't seen hardly any educational shit on the new PlayStation or Xbox. All the good stuff where you had to read your role and follow directions and track current events and stuff. They took that off the internet. The Nintendo had it. But then they have it too much. They have too much reading, but then that's Nintendo. But anyhow, I went through all that, and then now here they're trying to abduct my child again. They got rid of Jeff, the one that said it looked like he was fine, because they wanted to abduct the child. They did not want the best interest of the child, and it's all contained in the county. So now I'm going from 2 different things. I'm just saying I've been thinking about it for a long time, and I know how to rearrange the tax system. And we need to break up the monopoly that the county has on these three entities with some federal interjection and some state interjection, not just some blank observer sitting there writing on her papers. Not just that, not that. A public forum. They got to stop doing everything in the damn shadows and chasing and traumatizing people. And damn, guess what? Guess what? Guess what? Because they can't keep their pistols in their pockets. I don't believe that. I think that we're being traumatized by the amount of patrol cars, marked patrol cars. We're being traumatized by the amount of marked patrol cars because they come and abduct little Johnny, and the parents go through hell to appease this fucking bullshit court system. It's not appeasing them. You gotta make them. You gotta make them leave you alone because they are breaking everything. They are fucking traumatizing everybody. And it starts in the school systems. And I got the answer to it, but guess what? You guys won't give me a public discussion in a town hall meeting that I can plan to go to that it should be regular on the month. Yeah. Every representative needs to do 1 hour. I got the whole political. I know how to fix the political situation. They've been fucking me over since 1980, 94, 90. When they told me they was going to take my home, what kind of motivation do you think they spurred there? They did. They undermined everything I was, everything I am, in a whole 9 yards. So anyhow, the one safe trade, transit, insurance, commerce, sales tax, appropriation, accountability, infrastructure, prepaid, dividend bearing, evolution system of government and social welfare is about to get rid of the clinical professional mental health industry that keeps pushing us around and dictating how law enforcement and teachers interact with the students, constantly harassing the students, constantly trying to drive a narrative, because the more caseloads they get, whether they do anything or not, the more caseloads they get, the more grant money and incentives the government employees in the county have, and the schools and in the cities have to create sanctuary status, to gerrymandered drug dealing, to what? That's marijuana, ain't it? They're gerrymandering who can and who can't. They're doing nothing but bullying, and then they put intellectual technology and patent laws right there and force us to live in a deficit, getting insufficient treatments from providers instead of the cure. There you go. There's driving the narrative, and I want a public discussion, 1 hour every month. 3 hours for larger districts, but 1 hour? No, 1 hour, because I mean, you can continue at your own free will longer than that. You can type in comments just like we do on C-SPAN, and you're looking at a top fan, I guess. I don't want to age into a leadership position. I want to radically change to the best interest of the residents over the clinical professionals, the appropriation system, the insurance industries, and utilities and such. So we can properly, as a collective, invest in exploration, and as individual entities, invest in our communities. And if you are incentivized through my program, you're going to want tourists, because the more revenue you generate at your geological location, the higher quality of infrastructure you're going to have and safety, and the more preference you'll get at social venues like we haven't seen since George Washington's days. Hey, let's go rock and roll.